Hello, Canada. This is John-Luc Martel reporting from Wave 3 lockdowns in my basement in St. Catharines. My own mom brought me this because I was just checked out today. Uh, so yeah, this is a paid advertisement, says that very clearly, from the local small town paper. Um, Lockdowns cause more harm than good, and well, they are. I was having a conversation with a friend, Ken Stone, who's been in the human rights for literally 50 years, so basically his entire life. And I asked him, I said, what do you think about this lockdown? And he didn't even hesitate. He was like, it's basically close slamming the barn door after the horse is bolted, which is a perfect description of Canada's policy versus COVID so far. We are behind literally every other country on the planet. Even the States were falling behind, which is really disturbing because, in the States, you have to pay an arm and a leg for even basic medical care. You don't have to do that here. So why do we have a government that is imposing that is imposing crippling what amount to crippling economic sanctions as a way to cure a disease that makes no sense, because that's what these are. These are crippling economic and health sanctions. Look at this. You don't believe me? Look at this. The intermittent lockdowns mandated by the province of Ontario are ineffective. Even worse, they have resulted in delayed medical care for heart and cancer patients, bankruptcy of small businesses, and loss of employment for mothers forced to quit work due to school closures, and a frightening increase in arbitrary police powers, which is threatening people's personal freedom. Medical bureaucrats like to quote the large number of cases of COVID, but hide the number of actual hospitalizations and deaths because there are so few in the Niagara region. Out of over 480,000 people in the Niagara region, only 8 people are hospitalized with COVID-19. 8 out of 480,000. That's an insanely small margin. Like that's a tiny little blip. Like Nova Scotia, that mass shooting? That was 30 people. Just in one go. Actually dead. This is 8 people who are hospitalized. Like, they're not even dead. They're just hospitalized. The number of heart attacks in the region is about 263 per 100,000. This equates to about 131 heart attacks per year, and access to heart treatment is currently severely restricted. As noted in a recent March 11, 2021 report from Statistics Canada, non-COVID deaths due to lockdown are beginning to be an increased cause of excess death in Canada. And for the record, on my YouTube channel, if you look back, there are videos. I made a few op-eds months ago saying this is exactly what would happen. That this bullshit. Because I knew how incredibly inept our government is. And I saw this coming months ago. So I just want it to be known that I was right. I didn't want to be right about this, but I knew I probably would be. It is time for the government to stop scaring people and begin to handle this crisis in a reasonably balanced way. Okay, that's the difference between this crowd and the anti-masker crowd. The anti-masker crowd are just a bunch of right-wing, for the most part at least, are mostly right-wing troublemaking shit disturbers. They're the kind of people that would support any cause as long as it gives them an excuse to be angry at something. Okay? That's how I view anti-maskers, for the most part. But, you know, at this point, I'm also having to agree with people who don't want. At this point, I'm also finding myself in an agreement, an increasing agreement with people who are refusing to wear a mask because, quite frankly, you know, there have been large scale protests that have broken out across the country, especially in Ontario, due to Ford's unilateral and a lockdown of the entire province. And like there was one in not just in here today that I missed because I'm a fucking idiot. A big one, like hundreds of people were there, and this is a pretty small town. It's really spread out. You know, there are not a large number of people in this concentrated in a small area. So hundreds of people showing up for a protest, basically saying, you know, enough is enough. We've had enough of these arbitrary lockdowns. You know, that's a huge big deal, and really demonstrates just how fed up people are with this. The impact on healthcare is enormous, as noted by Statistics Canada. Disruptions to cancer screening lead to increases in cancer rates and deaths. As part of the pandemic response, and all elective and non-urgent surgeries and medical procedures were cancelled. Okay? Why? Across Canada for a period of time, including cancer screening programs. So they're not only cancelling the actual surgeries that already need to be done, but they're not even screening people for cancer. It's like the government wants people to die for no reason whatsoever. For colorectal, I have no idea how to pronounce it. For colorectal cancers, a 6-month suspension of primary screening could increase the cancer incidence by 2,200 cases, with 960 more cancer deaths over the lifetime. For breast cancer screening, a 3-month interruption could increase cancer diagnosis at advanced stages 320 or more and cancer deaths 110 or more from 2020 to 2029. A 6-month interruption could lead to 670 extra advanced cancers and 250 additional cancer deaths. So, yeah, this bit right here. They're not throwing out random numbers here. Okay? This is Statistics Canada. This is one of those things that, like, anybody can look it up and find the statistic they're quoting and be like, this is something that is researched and it's quotable. See, most of these media outlets, you know, even the small ones, are just throwing out essentially what amount to random numbers. You know, they're looking at the big scary numbers like this and ignoring the inconveniently small numbers of people who are not even dying. They're just hospitalized. Okay? Yes, I'm well aware that COVID, if you'd catch the real thing, is far from pleasant. I get that. Yes. And you will there's a likelihood that you will end up sounding like Darth Vader for the rest of your life. But here's the problem. That could be true of literally any disease if you catch a bad case of it. Okay? That could be true of the flu, you know. That could be true of any number of diseases that randomly circulate through our population. But we don't have these insane lockdowns as a result of those now, do we? That's the real thing here. This is this insane overreaction. You know, it wasn't an overreaction to begin with. Because back then this virus was novel. They didn't know what they were dealing with, so you know it paid to be a lot more cautious. But the fact is that even when we had the chance to use that as a reason to genuinely lock down, our government did nothing. We didn't lock down our borders early. We didn't close down the airports we didn't do anything to actually effectively slow down the spread. And that was what the lockdowns are supposed to be for. Not stopping, not being used as a band-aid, but to slow down the initial spread, to give our healthcare system a time to prepare and adapt. That's not what they did. Not by a long shot. They left the door wide open. We had 2 whole months of notice. Our government knew this was coming to our shores, but they did absolutely nothing. This is a well-known fact. Okay, the PPE warehouses that were supposed to be stockpiled, they were either empty or full of unusable equipment because it had expired. So, anybody who says that I'm an anti-masker, like the leader of the local the organizer for the St. Catharines Communist Party said that, actually, very ignorant person. He also said that 100% of the population needs to be vaccinated for him to, for people who have been held prisoner in long-term care facilities to be finally let out. That is so callous. Like, 70% of COVID deaths have been in these long-term care facilities in Canada because of the extremely poor management. Okay? So basically he's telling me that if I don't agree that people shouldn't basically agree to having a death sentence in these places, that I'm an anti-masker. The two have absolutely nothing to do with the other, but this guy didn't care about that. Also, it's impossible. You don't vaccinate 100% of the population. You vaccinate enough of the population. You're never going to vaccinate 100% of any population. It doesn't work that way. Okay. And you don't kill a virus. You just prevent it. What you do is you hamper its ability to cause serious symptoms. That's what the vaccine is for. It prepares your immune system for an attack by the virus. It doesn't stop the virus. It doesn't kill the virus. It just makes it easier for your body to do your own immune system to kill the virus if it hits you. That's what it does, okay? So anybody believing that these vaccines are a miracle cure, they're not. What they do is they dramatically decrease the effect that the virus will have on your body if you do catch it, and dramatically decrease the chance of retransmission. But they don't kill it. And they don't make you immune. They make you mostly immune. See, that's the thing. Yeah, and of course, the well-known massive fallout on small businesses. Equally concerning is the devastation the lockdowns are having on small retail businesses. The province of Ontario has issued a stop-start directives closing schools and businesses for random periods of time. Yeah, so this latest province-wide emergency lockdown, even using the emergency broadcast system, which I found to be particularly, which is like a cliche of scare tactics, I might add. The whole province, and this also includes Alberta, was given 12 hours notice, which is nothing. So, at least give people a bit more time to get their affairs in order, before telling them, well, you have to shut everything down again. Yeah, so little signs behind the approach. The confused directives have led small business to continue borrowing funds to stay afloat, but many are now facing personal bankruptcy. This shit right here is exactly what led to the Great Depression. This crap. People being forced to buy funds. To borrow. This is what led to the collapse of the Weimar Republic. This kind of crap here. And you know what that led to? Nazis. The original variety. The actual Nazis, like the original ones. The ones in World War II. Those Nazis. This is the kind of bullshit that allowed them to democratically get into power, because the government was so completely inept at handling finances that they bankrupted the country multiple times over and caused hyperinflation. That's where we're going. The province continues to threaten further lockdowns, while even the World Health Organization has stated that lockdowns do not work. And that's another easily a fact that that's not something else that anybody can easily look up. They either said it or they didn't. There's no if and or whataboutisms you can make about that argument. They either said this or they did not. See, this is what we're not getting from Ford or any of the other so-called medical experts that he has as talking heads. They're not giving us solid information, easily verifiable information, because they don't have any. All they have is scare tactics to keep people in line. And I've said it many times before in previous videos, but I will say it again. Ford is an asset stripping sociopath. Well, we've been obeying these ridiculous rules. He has been stripping away vital economic protections, protections of the wetlands, environmental protections. He's been strip mining the funding for public schooling, which is exactly what he did before COVID, I might add. So he hasn't changed one bit. So while we're all losing our jobs, and scared and terrified by random numbers that don't care about, like these numbers and not, these numbers, we are giving Ford and his cronies basically carte blanche to embezzle everything our taxpayers' dollars pay for. Just, if you're all right with that, then fine. I'm not. Our education system is bad enough as it is. Ford is going to completely strip mine it and turn it into private run education, which basically means that 90% of the population is going to be uneducated. If that happens. Just wanted to put that out there. COVID rules infringe on people's personal liberty. Poorly thought out rules allow people to crowd together in superstores like Walmart, but a couple cannot browse for antiques in a small antique store. Yeah. Yeah. Local health authorities continue to make arbitrary rules, and police are mandated to arrest kids for playing ice hockey. Now, I don't know when that happened. I'll have to look that up. Or is it in one case beat up an elderly couple for sitting on a bench? Once again, don't know about that, but given the way the police have been behaving in both the States and over here, of course it's been massively underreported in Canada, I wouldn't be surprised. Using police to enforce laws that are contrary to common sense and to the Charter of Rights greatly diminishes the respect of law enforcement. For those fearful of the COVID pandemic, it makes perfect sense to stay home. However, those of us who feel the threat is overstated should be allowed to shop and travel freely while using common sense precautions. So they're not saying don't wear masks if you don't want to wear masks. That's fine. But, they're not saying don't wear them. There we go. For further restrictions on travel, shopping, and dining, I have one suggestion. Just say no. Rob Mills, Niagara Region resident, a master's in environmental studies from York University and a master in public administration from Harvard. He currently owns a successful home building company in the Niagara region. So basically, this is not some random Yahoo. This is a successful business person who owns his own self-made company and is well educated. So this isn't some random blowhard. And more importantly, this is a local resident. Not somebody living in an ivory tower. If you agree, call your MPP and demand an end to these lockdowns. Contact information for members of provincial parliament. Here they are for people living around here, or even people who aren't living around here. We are applying pressure on as many fronts as possible is good. So yeah, it looks like Canada has finally had enough, and in the unlikely, extremely unlikely event that Thug Ford is watching this, I would like to point out that his leadership is going to tear this country apart and divide it in a way that we've never seen before. Either that, or hopefully, what's going to happen is it's going to unite the majority of Canadians against, it's going to be the haves and the have-not crowd, basically. The people who can safely stay in their rarefied world of luxury and wealth, where they don't have to worry about any of this crap, versus, well, everybody else, essentially. Yeah. This is probably going to be what's going to come down. So, replace third wave pandemic with the new wave of Canadians finally standing up against this bullshit that we've allowed to rot into the system for the last 30 years. We've been building up to this for 30 years, people, okay? We have allowed the government to slowly chip away at everything that we need as a functioning democratic society. They have sold off our strategic industries. Like, we can't even make our own. I've said this before, but we can't even make our own vaccines. Okay? Even if you wanted to, we can't. So, because we allowed these vital industries to be sold off and dismantled in most cases. So, yeah, it's about goddamn time Canadians started standing up for Canada, because our politicians sure as hell ain't going to do it. Hashtag no more lockdowns. And please look up nomorelelockdowns.ca. I think you'll find some interesting stuff there. I hope this doesn't turn into, yeah. I hope this doesn't go get as nasty as it might, but, well, this is where we're at, people.